Here we are in the getting ready room, which is what we're going to cover right now, is how we shoot the bride getting ready and the groom getting ready. First thing when I walk into a room is identify the light sources. We've got light coming in through the windows, we've got chandeliers, and we've got these spotlights. And more often than not, if I've got good natural light in a room like this, I'm going to turn off all the lights if I can. Most of the time in this situation, the big benefit is the color balance in here is going to be really hard to master, because window light is going to be a different temperature than light coming out of these tungsten bulbs, which is sort of your household yellow. It's very yellow-orange. So I've got blue light from the window, orange light from these inside, and I just want to make it all one color so I can white balance my camera and not have to worry about it. So the first thing I'll do is find the light switches. I do that all the time. And sometimes the mother of the bride will freak out a little bit like, oh, it got dark in here. And I go, well, do you want a little more light, or do you want nice pictures? Not really, but sometimes you can use these. If it was dark outside, I would be definitely using them, and I'd color balance for tungsten.
So would you turn off the chandelier also, or just the spots?
Probably just the spots. The chandelier I can manage, because compared to how bright it is outside, the chandelier is putting off very little light, and it's not going to affect our color temperature nearly as much as these orange spotlights are. So first things first is identify my light sources, pick where I'm going to shoot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot in this room and show you what I would do if I had a beautiful room like this in natural light, and then I'll show you what I would do if I was in a room with no windows and I had terrible light, and how I would get great shots from both.
Sounds great.
So let's bring in the bride. Kim is here, yes. And she was actually our bride this past weekend, and she's going on her honeymoon tomorrow, so she gets to wear her dress again. And so, Kim, I'm going to bring you right over here, and if you want to just have a seat right there for a second, what I'm doing is I already have in my mind what I want to shoot. But we have this beautiful window light, but there's too much of it, too many different light sources. So I've closed these windows to sort of focus it, so I've only got this one window to worry about, because I like to do close-up stuff and then go to the bigger shots. So, and my wife is here. She is normally shooting. Hi, honey. She always shoots with me on weddings, and while I'm doing pose stuff and getting everybody's attention and being the focus of what's happening in the room with the bride, she's sneaking around getting photojournalistic stuff and just sort of, finding those little moments. Because one of the coolest things after a wedding is when somebody says, oh, I didn't know you were there, or I didn't see you get that shot. And that's what she does. So she's our little ninja photographer. She goes around, and whenever we compete at our local affiliate in the image competition, she always beats me at photography and wedding photography, because her stuff's so touching, and people love that emotion stuff. They like that better than good lighting. Okay, cool. So what we've got is you've got a typical situation. I'm going to shoot this first like it's a room that isn't beautiful. And so window light is really safe. It's really easy, and a lot of people do it. But one of the big mistakes I see people make is you've got a dress, which is typically white, which is almost always brighter than your subject's face. So one of the things you need to do is realize that window light comes down. And so if you try to expose this, the bride's dress is always going to be brighter than her face unless you do something about it, which is where I start to employ a reflector. Julie, would you grab a reflector for me, honey? Okay, cool. So you can play with the light a little bit, and as you see, sort of, if you use even the curtain to flag the light on the dress a little bit, the light, her face now becomes brighter, or rather the dress darker. The face appears to be brighter. So what we'll typically do is get a 2-for-1, is I'll get a little fill, and I'll also be able to block the light that's on the dress with one of these handy dandy 5-in-1 reflectors. Cool? Okay, actually, Jules, She does just about everything. Okay, Kim. When I set up a shot, I identify the light. I kind of sit the subject in it without posing them, and then I fine-tune the light / scene, and I do everything until the shot's perfect. And once everything's ready, then I start working with the client, because the thing that makes images is the expression. It's not going to be. The bride isn't going to say, "That's a beautifully lit portrait that you made of me there." You know, they want to know. They're more concerned about how they look. Do I look happy? You know, do I look pretty? And all that stuff. Am I wrong? Okay. All right. So I want you to turn your knees away from the window a little bit. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I like to shoot to create depth, even in a close shot. I always put the body at an angle and put the dress out of the light so that I can balance that a little bit better. And my lens today is an 85. And again, this is another cheat because the 85 I actually own is the Canon 1.8, which is way less expensive, and I love it. This is about $1,500 or something, and the one I use is only like $3, and I like it better than this one. But this is all the rental place had because my autofocus broke on my other one because I'm really hard on my equipment. Okay, so I need to color balance this. But I'm going to go ahead and, for the sake, I'll do color balance in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the little window setting because that seems appropriate. There's a little picture of window light in the camera, so I'll put it on that. Now what you want to do is I want to decide how I want the shot to feel. And so that goes into your camera settings. And one of the first things I want to do is think about what mood do I want, what's the focus. So I'm doing at this point, I'm doing earrings, necklace, hands with the rings, and headshots. And the 85 is perfect for that because I can get that shallow depth of field. But I'm probably going to shoot this at about f4. And that is about the safest that you can get and still get a really nice shallow depth of field but get what you want in focus. And so you have to shoot with intent. You have to choose your lens for a reason. You have to choose your aperture for a reason. And I do shoot manual. I know photographers that don't, and that's fine. Whatever your process is, just make sure you're shooting deliberately. I don't use a light meter typically on weddings because we're in a lot of the same places and a lot of the same situations, and if you've done it long enough, you can mostly guess, but a light meter is super helpful. But I don't use one. So let's see how good I really am. Try to get this exposure right. I'm going to do one test shot. And I do the test shot, and then I change everything. And my number one rule is when I'm working with a client directly is take a test shot, make an adjustment, and then start shooting and stop looking at the back of your camera. Every time you look at the back of your camera to see if you did it right, you're breaking faith with your client. And you're taking the focus off of creating the image and on, do I know how to use my camera? Does that make sense? All right. So I'm going to guess, and even without taking a picture, I'll use the little incident meter that's in there. Turn the autofocus on. That helps. And it says that I'm going to use the dress to meter, and it says that I am a stop under on the dress, which lets me know the camera's meter is going to try and take everything and make it gray. If you take a paint stir and stick it in the world and swirl it, it's going to end up pretty close to about an 18% gray. And so if you're shooting a lot of white, the camera's meter is going to tell you the exposure. It's going to give you the wrong exposure if you're shooting a lot of white. So you need to adjust for that. So the camera's always going to try and take white and make it gray in order to get a correct exposure if you're looking at a scene that's very white like what we've got now.
So it'll tell you that you're underexposed?
Right. So the camera is going to tell you that your exposure is correct, but the dress will be a stop underexposed, which in this case, a lot of times when I'm shooting with a dress, I do underexpose because brides spend a lot of time picking out their dress, and there's a lot of detail, beadwork, lace work, all that stuff. And the number one sin of wedding photography is to overexpose the dress. And in digital photography, when you blow out white, it's not coming back. You can't get that back. So you have to underexpose the dress, or to expose the dress properly, you have to underexpose the face sometimes, or underexpose the scene overall. But it's easier to bring those shadows back in digital photography than it is to try and get the whites back that you blew out. So if this says I am one stop under, then I am about a stop under because I metered inside the camera. And this is not the final shot, but I've underexposed, but I've got all the detail in the dress. So I'll probably raise it a little bit, but not a lot. So right now I'm shooting at f4, 125th of a second, which is good for hand holding. The rule of thumb is if you want to keep the shutter speed equal to or greater than the focal length of the lens. So in 85, you want to be shooting around 100th of a second if you're hand holding and you're not image stabilized, which I'm not. So I'm going to up my ISO When I'm shooting manually, I set in my shutter speed, which I need it to be over 100, and my aperture f4 because that's the look I want. And then I control the exposure with the ISO. And because changing the ISO will change the exposure without changing the overall look of the shot. So that's how I pretty much shoot. I'm locked in and I just use the ISO to change my exposure. So now I've got my test. I'm going to go up to 800 ISO, f4, 125th of a second, and I know that I'm going to have it right. So my settings are good, my light's good, everything's exactly how I want it. So now I have to work with my subject. I have to pose and activate. So I don't know, activate sounds really like, really superhero-y and lame, you know. Photographer, activate. All right. And so we'll see if I can actually do this with a room full of cameras and a bride that already knows how I work. So. Okay, are you out on the edge of that seat, Kim? Okay. Get quite on the edge. I like them on the edge a little bit to separate them. If people get too comfortable, slouching isn't a very attractive pose for most people. Good. All right. So we need a nice straight back, and I want you to lean forward over your knees this way. Whenever you direct someone, always show them what you're trying to do. Don't just say lean forward. Go, lean with me this way. Good. All right, so nice straight back, leaning forward. Good. And I want you to, and this is key. Right now we've got split light on her face. Half of her face is in window light and the other half is in the shadow. So what I want to do is bring that back. And so you say, turn your head, or you can go, Kim, just move your head into the window like this. Bam. You see what I mean? Always directing. Your head can only move 3 ways. This way, and that way. And people catch on pretty quick. And now last bit, Kim, is I want you to lean into me a little bit this way. And lift your chin just a touch. Perfect. Okay. And now we've got it. And then the last thing is expression. So, I'm going to compose. I'm going for like a bridal headshot here. And what I really like to do with these is get a nice relax all the muscles in your face. Okay? Good. And now I want you to relax your jaw a little bit. Let a little tiny bit of air pass between your lips. Just a little bit. Beautiful. Okay. Good. And now I want you to take a breath. There you go. And let it out. Good. And there you go. Chin down just a touch. Beautiful. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, good. I probably would add a little fill light onto that too. So I would probably use another reflector on top of that. There it is. Perfect. Oh, thanks, Angela. All right, cool. Now I'm going to fill in a little bit because I don't want the shadows to be too harsh, but I'm going to go a little bit more this way. Nice posture. And I want you to bring your hands back out a little bit. Good. So what I've done is I'm separating her arm from the body because dresses like this, which are, is that a halter? Is that what they're called? A halter? I don't know. But strapless. We'll say strapless. If you're just sitting, strapless dresses can cause unflattering things to happen to everybody that wears them. And so when I wear a strapless dress, I always make sure that I have good posture. So if you separate those arms a little bit, because her hands aren't in the picture, and what I've done is slide your right hand back a little bit more. Beautiful. You see I've shown that now I've got the curve of her waist, and her arm is separated. And bring your shoulder back a little bit more. Perfect. And now everything is tight and beautiful. Nose this way, leaning into me a little bit. Good. All right. So we got beautiful light. Perfect. And now, what I want you to do is pretend that I'm wearing roller skates. There you go. See, it's like expression isn't always about asking somebody to give you an expression. Sometimes you just say the thing that's going to get it. And that takes talent sometimes. You could be a terrible photographer who can get great expression if you can just talk to people, you know. You have to read people. Part of photography is meeting someone who you've never met before and then getting an expression out of them. And so that takes time to develop that skill. But in this situation, now I've created that basic headshot that I wanted. All right. This could be a PhotoVision first. Okay, so leaning in, nose into the light a little bit, good. So I like a nice high angle shot, and it's pretty flattering for everybody, and they're very popular. So what I'll do is you try to get as many shots as you can out of every setup. So without moving her, without doing anything, I'm gonna get a shot that's totally different so that I can maximize the amount of shots I get out of one setup. Okay, Kim, turn into the light a little bit, good. And look out the window with your eyes, good. And eyes down a little bit more. I love eyelashes, so I'm gonna shoot those. All right, good. And a little smile. I want you to think about Matt laying on the beach with you in a couple of days. It's gonna be awesome, beautiful. Chin down just a little bit. Awesome, just that way. And so what I'm doing now is getting some details. Bam, bam, bam. And now I'm creating like a spread in the album because the background doesn't matter. Everything's close. And I'm shallow depth of field. And I'm happy with the way that looks. And now I'm going to get her to sit up a little straighter for me, Kim. Good. And then lean with a straight back. Good. Okay. Good. And eyes out the window. One small smile. And then bring your eyes to me, darling. If you want. Oh, beautiful. Good. Good. Okay, cool. Awesome. Headshot accomplished. There it is. Kim, would you come over here with me, darling? Good. Perfect. So when I need a bride to move around, sometimes I just dance with her. Say, let's dance. Turn this way. See how easy that was? And rather than turn around this way. Okay, no, the other way. You just move people. So what you've got with a window right here is I've got beautiful profile light for getting ready. So I want you to put your hands kind of on your stomach a little bit, almost like you're playing with your fingers. Just, yeah, even mess with your ring. Good. And you're going to be kind of looking at the door and there, and turn your body a little bit this way, and then bring your face towards that window and bring that chin down a little bit. Boom. Like, the truth is, it doesn't matter how you get there. It's just that you do actually get there. Beautiful. Okay. Now here's another thing. Let's add some light to it. Perfect. Okay. There we go. Now I've got a little more light coming in. Beautiful. So she's kind of this, even though she's not looking at the window, she's kind of looking at the door. She looks like she's looking out the window. So I'm going to grab it, bang, and then bang. Good. And I've got the mirror, the composition. The mirror is haloing her head. It's all really cool part of the composition. Good. And I shoot almost a whole wedding. If I take 1,000 pictures, 800 of them will be horizontal. And that's just how I shoot. If I need to crop it vertically, I do. Like I'm about to right now. I might need to switch lenses. Yeah, I need to switch lenses. What do you got? Give me that one. I don't shoot with 2 camera bodies because I like my life to be as difficult as possible. So, there we go. This is it right here. Beautiful. Awesome. Cool. So a lot of this stuff that I'm doing is going to be, you know, exactly like as if I was shooting it on the day. So without doing anything else, I'm going to move her. And when you got mirrors all around, you can create really cool depth with it. I'm not going to move her, but just a little bit to get her back into this window light. And turn your face a little bit into that window. I've got edge light from that window, backlight from that window. I've got a mirror. Perfect. Yeah, there. So now I've got a little bit of the room as scenery. Kim, drop that chin a little bit. Beautiful. And try not to blink so much, would you? I'm just kidding. Oh, man, don't ever say that to a bride, by the way. I'm just kidding. We're friends, so we can do that now. But, yeah, we're doing really, really cool stuff. Piece of cake, man. And even though I'm in here, the windows, I'm just kind of blowing them out, and I don't really care, because who cares? I'm just using the available light right now. Perfect. So I got a nice scene with a lot of cool stuff in it. And so that's pretty much how we do the getting ready. And in the meantime, I'm also going to be doing headshots of all the bridesmaids. That's huge. The reason that we do that, there we go, is because I'm always thinking about the album. So headshots of the whole bridal party always make a really good 2-page spread in every album, and nobody has ever not bought it, ever. If you put it in there, you will sell it. I want to start incorporating some off-camera and on-camera lighting to show you a couple different ways to do the same thing. So I'm going to grab a flash. So I've got off-camera and on-camera here, Angela. And for those people who shoot weddings solo, we're going to do on. And for those who, like me who like to bring minions, I will do off. All right. Kim, I want you to sit dead center, please, on that couch. Here's your on-camera flash. Again, I stole everything I know how to do from other photographers. It's called education. Thank you, PPA, for all of the things that I know. Great class with a photographer called Neil Van Nykerk, who uses a lot of bounce flash on camera. And this is a $20 Rogue flash bender. And this is going to enable me to get directional light that looks like off-camera light without having an off-camera flash.
So Gary, tell me about this, what you just put on the flash.
Sure. A lot of people bounce flash on camera, and that's a really cool technique. But one of the things that's going to happen if you don't direct that light a little bit more is light doesn't just go in one direction. Light is going to come out of this thing in all directions. It's obviously more powerful in the middle, softer around the edges. But I want to control the light. I want to shoot it up into that corner, and I want it to bounce back and give me directional light on her face. And we'll see if I can do that. If you were to just shoot the flash without something like this, you get this light spilling all over the place. And I don't want that. I just want it directional. So I'm going to shoot in manual mode, and I'm going to guess to bounce off that wall and get to her, I'm going to go ahead and probably start with half of full power in order to do that. But the first thing I'm going to do before I add the flash is I'm going to get my ambient exposure. So can we bring those two chairs out? I love the bouquet in the background. I think that actually, let's give the bride the bouquet. This is where we're going to bring the bouquet in. Okay, so I'm going to get, I think we should be pretty close to what I was just shooting at. And yeah, that's all right. I might even add more because I maybe want to get some details. Kim, can you go this way like 2 inches? Just scoot your butt. Stop. That was 2.5. There you go. Point them towards me. Like lay them in your lap and relax. Good. All right. You see when somebody's holding something, how much their posture changes? It's like they have a mission now. That's really cool. All right, so let's do a little testaroo here and see how it goes. All right. Bang. All right, we're there. So if you can probably achieve a similar look if you want a little flatter lighting. Without the snoot, just turn the flash around and bounce it off the wall behind you. But do remember that this is a white room, and your flash is going to turn color, whatever color of the wall it's bouncing off of. So if you're in like a Kermit the Frog green room, I would not recommend bouncing flash around unless you want everybody to be green, okay? Because as we all know, it's not easy being green. Nobody laughed. Great, thanks. Appreciate that. All right, good. Turn your upper body a little more that way. Beautiful. Bring those elbows back a little bit. Good posture. Lean towards me a touch, and then bring your nose this way a little bit. Chin down. All right, beautiful. Lean your upper body this way a little. Bam, good. All right, I dig it. Love the hair too. All right. So I'm going to use a wide shot, and then Jules, can we just fluff the dress out evenly a little bit? So again, I'm going to set the scene, light it, get my exposure, and then I'm going to send my dear wife or one of our minions into the shot, because you don't take the shot, look at the back of the camera, see what you messed up, and then change something. You get the scene, and then you set the scene, and then you shoot it. And once you're ready to shoot, then you work with your client for that expression. You activate and fine-tune. Because don't pose your client and then fix a bunch of stuff, because they're going to be sitting there uncomfortably for way too long. So just let them hang out while you figure out what you're doing. All right, so I got a nice low angle. There you go. Whoop. And ready? All right, nice, small, sweet smile for me, Kim. That's beautiful. All right, and I'm shooting wide, so I want to try and get my verticals correct. So I'm lining up the edges of the camera against the wall so that the shot is vertical. And I'm going to pull back a little wide, just because I'm probably going to crop it later. Boom. Boom. Okay, so that's using on-camera flash to get directional light. And now I'm going to use off-camera flash.
So what's the benefit of using off-camera flash?
The benefit of using off-camera flash is you can get a little more control with the light. If you're bouncing a flash, you got to remember you're bouncing a flash, which means that it's not as precise. And with the flash off-camera, I can zoom the flash in. I can really fine-tune it. I can use a smaller light source, a larger light source. If you're bouncing off a big white wall, you're just going to get a big, soft light. And if you want something that's a little more precise, get a little more of a contrasty ratio, off-camera flash is where it's at. All right, Jules, can you go to this side here? And kind of over where that chair is and feather it across. And what's cool about these Canon flashes, the 600s, is you can control the power of the flash from the transmitter unit. And that's one of the advantages over using like a pocket wizard.
Do you have a preference of side that you put your flash on?
I will put the flash typically on the side where the natural light is coming from. You don't want to fight the natural light on the face. So you want to light the mask of the face. It also depends on how the subject looks. Do they have a better side? There's a lot of factors that go into it. But when you're shooting a wedding, a lot of times you don't have the time to consider, hey, is her nose half a millimeter to the left compared to, or was one nostril bigger than the other? You've got 10 minutes to do this, so you're running and gunning. If it was a portrait sitting in the studio, I might treat it a little bit differently. All right, so bring it a little more towards me. Good, and lower. Good, okay. My exposure is right now at f7.1, a 60th of a second at ISO 800, and my flash is set to manual at 1/8 power, okay? And it's feathered across her instead of pointed directly at her to soften that light a little bit. All right, here we go. Beautiful, okay, perfect. So I got the shot. You take as few shots as possible and stop looking at the back of your camera, Gary, because you just told everybody not to do that. All right, here we go. Perfect. Let's do 3 shots, okay, Kim? I do like to tell people how many pictures I'm going to take. so they don't feel like they're sitting there endlessly. I do that quite a lot. I'll be like, okay, we're going to take 5 or 6 of this.
You don't say just one more? Just one more?
Just one more. Oh,
Just
just
one
kidding.
more.
Just kidding. Just kidding. No. All right, perfect. All right. All right, pretty lady. Julie, move that out a little bit. Right there. Okay, here we go. Good. This way, just a touch. There we go. Perfect. There we go. 1. I'm going to take 2 more, okay? Now give me no smile. Nice, relaxed expression. Chin down a little bit. Good. And looking right at me. Good. Good. Okay, cool. And we got that. So I've got a full-length portrait. I've got headshots. I've got just about whatever you would need to get in here without having bridesmaids and a mother of the bride to actually show how we do that type of stuff. But for the putting on of the dress and all those details, I would probably just have her in the middle of the room and the light would typically be to my back. I wouldn't shoot into the windows like this. I go, when I've got control over it and I'm posing something, I'll do something a little more difficult. When I'm shooting what's happening, I'll pick the easier light every time. Always shoot the standard safe stuff and then shoot the stuff that's maybe not going to work. So I'm moving furniture out of the way. I want to do a very sort of model-y backlit shot. I shoot right into the window and I blow it out because I really don't care in this situation. It's a much more of like a Maxim or a GQ kind of a look than like a standard traditional bridal portraiture. You ready?
Yeah.
Come on, man. All right. Let's come on over to this window. Will you dance with me?
Sure.
Good.
I can change.
Turn this way. Back right to it. Perfect. Okay. So we got all the lights off. Got a little more. So what I'll do is I'm just going to crank this exposure up and blow it out and see what we get. Good. And I want you to square your shoulders right up to me. Good. And take a tiny side step right there, dead center. One thing you learn doing wedding photography is economy. Take 3 different shots of the same exact thing. So turn this way a little bit. Stop. And go this way just a tiny bit. Right there. Perfect. Okay. So let's do it. So I've got my light. I've got my pose. And all I got to do is get my exposure, which I think I'm going to go up to stay at f4 because I want it to all be in focus. Beautiful. And we do a test. Now one of the problems is you can actually have trouble focusing when you're shooting directly into light. Nose this way, chin down, dent that way a little bit. A little less, right, like straight up and down. Right there, that's perfect. Okay, good. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's awesome. Very cool stuff. So I'll do this. I'm going to get like a medium shot. I'll come in and get a close-up. Chin down a little bit. Lean forward just a touch. I want you to kind of be almost looking up to me. Beautiful. Awesome. All right. Chin down a little bit more. Okay. Now lower your eyes. Almost close them. Like close your eye right there. I love those eyelashes. That's such cool eyelashes. Girls love eyelash compliments. It'll get you very far in life. Perfect. You have the most beautiful lashes. All right. Here we go. Okay, relax all those muscles in your face. Let your lips separate just a little. Beautiful. Perfect. All right. Now, if I've been shooting on a certain white balance, I'm just going to leave it so I can batch correct them all together later, rather than like try and... What I really like is, sometimes, guys, your background can be your ceiling. So we're going to try that. You've got this really cool vaulted ceiling and this chandelier. And I'm going to try and use it a little bit. Perfect. Yeah, I dig that a lot. Maybe even more. Never wear nice clothes to a wedding.
We'll talk about that later, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you wear?
Yeah, we're having fun in jeans right now, but
I definitely don't dress in jeans when I shoot a wedding. Although I have once, and I thought they were like nice enough jeans where I could get away with it. And the father of the bride before the wedding said, "Are you going to change? When are you going to change your clothes?" Kind of embarrassing. Beautiful. So now I've gotten 3 shots out of the same thing without moving her. You can blow the background out, and you're not supposed to lose detail in highlights, I know, but we're going a little more off book. We're going more magazine style than like portrait style. So that's kind of what I was going for. And luckily it worked because this is all being filmed. One thing I always want to do is pay attention to what people do when you're not taking their picture, because sometimes they just do the cutest things. And like the scene is just perfect. Turn your body towards me, Kim. All right? And turn your face, look over kind of in the mirror right there. Boom. And there's like a plethora of shots in here. A plethora.